Hello and welcome to USTS, the Ultimate Sports Training Show. I'll be a host for today's show, Bob Lemire. Joining me on today's show, I'm going to tell you, this is one of the greatest athletes that I know and I've watched grow up in my lifetime. 25 years old, and this kid's done it all. We're going to talk about all of it, and recently jiu-jitsu is his new passion. 2 gold medals within the last 6 months. And he, not that he makes it look easy, but he's got a talent here. And I'm going to let him, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let him talk about a little of his life first. Because there's just so much, and we could talk for hours with this guy. This is Travis Hall. Welcome to the show, Travis.
Well, thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Yeah, happy to be on. And I know this has been a little bit of a long time coming. We've been talking about coming onto the podcast, and we finally made it happen. So I'm happy to be here.
You're a busy man, and we're going to see how busy this guy. Always busy. You never settle down. As I watch you, we camp together, not together in the same campground, and he's probably 100 yards from me, and I just watch him and his brother and his father and his mother and everybody just constantly walking back and forth, going to do something new. Whether it's golf clubs in your hands or it's horseshoes in your hands or it's the boat, skis. So that's where, as we talked, we just did a Taekwondo show a couple of minutes ago. And if you want to watch that, it's on, you can watch that on YouTube, Grandmaster Taekwondo Grandmaster Bob Lemire, and you'll get the podcast and the YouTube. This podcast right now is live, so just tell us a little about yourself there, bud.
Yeah, absolutely. So Travis Hall, I was born and raised in Danville, New Hampshire, small little town in southeast New Hampshire, and so I was born with the identical twin, and growing up with an identical twin, has its pros for the most part, and then some cons, but always having a pro. It's a built-in best friend. So growing up was pretty awesome, having an identical twin that was also into sports, and I think that's kind of where a lot of the athleticism came from. Right, it was just us two challenging each other. Right. When we got to high school, I played 3 different sports outside of, or at least competitively. So that was football in the fall, competitively ski race in the winter, and then baseball in the spring. But outside of that, we were always playing whenever the season was off. Yeah, it was whatever we could get, whatever ball we could, throw back and forth, frisbee back and forth, literally whatever we could, get our hands on. We'd make a game out of it, which was awesome. So,
and the great thing is, as I've seen over the years, your brother's got the same competitive attitude as you, and you've got to go crazy to beat each other. Oh yeah. So you're always trying to get that edge, and you're constantly training. Yeah. It's like you're at a gym or you're with a professional trainer. You're constantly trying, whether it's horseshoes, whether it's and you must go back and forth and back and forth and
and to pull onto that string. The best part about him and the best part about our twin relationship and how competitive we are, it's a very healthy competitiveness. So if as we were growing up, everyone between the two of us, one person was always better at one thing than the other, right, or one aspect of the sport than the other.
Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah. And what was good is in order to make ourselves better, what we realized is if we coach one another in the things that we're better at, ultimately that's just going to raise our level of competition. So that's kind of how it was growing up for us. Whenever we had a free moment, done homework after school, we go out and play for a while until the sun goes down and dinner was ready.
And
right?
You're staying in shape, always staying in shape because you never stop. Yeah. Always pushing each other to the limit, almost like you say, a coach. Like he's your coach and you're his coach, and your father and your mother. Yeah. And your father's a tremendous athlete himself. So the whole family was just boom, boom, boom. And then you get addicted to winning these things. Anything you play, you want to win. I remember, and it's almost like it was yesterday. You're 25 years old now. It was yesterday. I think you were 13 playing your first horseshoe tournament, you and your brother. And we all know the Halls. You grew up with horseshoes. You grew up with horseshoes in your hand at birth, and I remember newbies or new people who were playing in the tournaments. We had big tournaments, 60, 70 people. Oh no, I got the young kid, and I remember going, "You don't know this kid; he'll ruin you." And you guys did right off the bat. It made no difference, and it never looked back. And that's just horseshoes. Never mind. What's the alpine ski racing? That sounds like it's that's in the blood too, because a lot of your family members.
Ever since we could start walking, my parents had Austin and I. Austin's my twin. Right. I had the two of us on the snow, and fortunately, I think the best thing that they did was keep us outside of racing. So just between the two of us, it was, teaching each other, different techniques, carving. But then we also had the time to play, go in the trees, go into the terrain park. And I think that's where where we built up a lot of our, solid techniques and balance. And it wasn't until our freshman year of high school that we actually got into racing. Now we had done some of those like Mountain Dew challenges or whatever the mountain sponsored events were that, had gates where you could race and, sign up, but it wasn't actual competition, until freshman year of high school. And then once we went into high school and started competitively racing and did really well, we were like, we want to get some extra training. We want to go outside and, get a coach and, do this outside of just the high school aspect.
Right.
So what we ended up doing is signing up for a mountain program up in the local area that we normally go to. So we skied out at Attitash Mountain in North Conway, New Hampshire. And after joining that, I mean, that's where our level of skiing just, the bar was raised. Yeah. And then we, regret that we didn't start a while ago or, when we were a lot younger, but there was other things that, we were,
you were into everything.
At the time.
You were into everything, right?
So
and what alpine skiing? I skied when I was younger, but just to tell people what alpine skiing is. What's that? Is that with the gates and all?
Exactly. Yeah. So whenever you're, you take the family to the local mountain and you see those red and blue gates that are set up. Some of them have flags on them, right? Two poles, and you kind of get a ski around. So that's GS, giant slalom, and then you have a version called slalom where they're just the skinny poles that you got to make tight, quick turns, and it's a little bit more technical, a little bit more methodical.
And you did both of them? Or
both of them. Yeah. My main event was slalom.
But and how did you do? How'd you make out?
Yeah, we did really well. At that level, we almost joined a little bit too late because everyone was already at a very, very high competitive level. But we made up ground very quick.
You did well.
Yeah, we did as well as we could. In high school, we were definitely near the top for our division.
Right.
But when you take it outside of just the high school, that's where all of your more elite athletes are.
Right. And they've been training.
And they've been training since they were 6 years old.
And and I mean you can play catch up, but are you still competing at all?
I know I haven't not since college. Every time one of those mountain sponsored events comes up, I like to dabble in it again, but I haven't got back on
just to have fun
in the tracks.
Any injuries? Often. Any injuries skiing?
Unfortunately, my senior year of senior year of high school at our states meet, I was pegged to, coming first for slalom. Slalom was going to be running in the afternoon. In my first run of my GS event, I ended up having a really bad crash, the second to last gate, broke my helmet, broke my goggles, ended up breaking my hand as well. And I got up, I skied through the finish, and everyone, people are swarming me, and they're like, what's your name? Where you from? And I'm like, everyone just take a second. I need to collect myself and see what's going on. And I ended up having to go to the hospital, and they took the x-rays. They said it was broken. I was like, hey, can I just tape my pole to my hand so I can run the race?
Did you?
I didn't. No, I wasn't allowed. It was a high school event, so
there you go. Oh yeah, they got to protect you because they don't want you getting maimed.
Exactly.
Boy, that's wild. So what happens? When you hit a piece of ice, or just you're going so fast that you?
Yeah, just a slight misstep. I think my ski ended up hooking up on a piece of ice and tracked a little bit quicker than I thought I would have. Clipped my own boot, and then I ended up running into the gate at that time. Kind of flipped over, and it was it was an extremely icy day too. So
and you're flying.
Yeah.
I mean, you could break a neck.
Yeah.
And you broke your helmet.
Yeah, part of the ear chipped off, and then my goggles were shattered in half.
And if you didn't have it, you would have been a mess.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you have to have that equipment.
100%.
Any other equipment you wear? Do you wear elbow pads and knee pads? Or
normally if we're doing a faster race, which is the Super G, Super Giant Slalom, you wear a back brace just in case of some crazy falls, because you're getting up to speeds of about 80 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour at some points.
That's death.
Which is quick.
Yeah. And it's funny because you're watching. I love skiing, especially Wild Sports when they had the Olympics and all that back then. And it was so exciting. And you'd watch the crashes, and you'd go, agony of defeat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're wasted on the ground. I mean, you know that they're hurting.
Oh yeah.
And did they always wear helmets?
Oh yeah,
they always wear helmets.
You have to. Yeah. And the conditions they make it super icy on purpose because the skis that you're skiing on are they're razor blades, so they're gonna hold. But it's a super hard surface, so any diggers you take are. And
so what would tough. You do? You sharpen your own skis. You do your own sharpening.
Yeah.
Top of the line skis.
Yep.
top of the line boots, top of the line equipment. You have to.
Every season, you know, you're, especially for the more elite athletes, are buying new skis every single season. Yeah. Which is crazy. We normally hang on to ours.
Big money.
We weren't.
Big money, huh?
Yeah.
And you got to make sure that they'll release so you don't snap that leg like you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. But the dims are set, you know, super high, which, you know, keep you in for at least for competitive ski racing.
Right.
A normal person would have them at 8. Competitive ski racing, you have them at like 15 to 16 most of the part, which is like double the amount that you normally should. Yeah.
Normally should, so you don't break your leg, because it'll break you, right?
It's so you don't walk out of the boot or
you walk,
or eject.
Right.
You don't want to eject.
Right.
Right.
But then you want it to release when you
correct. Yeah.
Right. My father took me down to Hot Wheel Hill. Do you remember Hot Wheel Hill? It was a small little hill, and it came straight. This was like the second time we ever skied. Mm-hmm. The top of the hill wasn't high, but it came straight down like this and stopped right in front of the clubhouse or and he didn't know what he was doing. He went down and he tried to stop because he knew he was going to hit the building, and his ski stuck or whatever in the ground, and his whole body kept turning, and he had a spiral fracture in his that was it. He never.
That's brutal.
Yeah. He couldn't walk for a year.
It's a tough injury to come back from.
It's just twisting.
Yeah. Yep.
So we won't get it too much into. So you played football also.
Yeah, football.
What school?
Timberlane Regional High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
What position you play in?
Linebacker and tight end.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so I started varsity when I was a sophomore in high school. Right. I kind of had halfway through the season, someone had gotten hurt, so I kind of filled into their position.
Right.
And I was a lot smaller.
At that time. You grew quick. I
grew a lot. I was a late bloomer.
Yeah, what are you, about 6'3" now? 6'4"?
Yeah, about 6'3" now, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Back then, I think I was like 5'6", maybe 5'8".
Right, yeah. But at that, you know, I think in high school, it makes a difference, but if you're an athlete, and you're fast and you're supple, it's better to be big like you are now. They would.
Yeah, for me, I used a lot of my intelligence, intuition.
Right.
I studied a lot of film. In football, I knew strength wasn't going to be my biggest go-to, and I couldn't rely on that. So understanding what the plays were actually happening and what they were running was my biggest strength.
Right.
So especially in playing a linebacker position, being able to read my guards and
right. Linebacker's fun.
Wasn't scared.
You get to make some moves, and you get to make some hits and stuff. And it's my son Jimmy used to do linebacker also, and I used to have more fun watching that.
It's a blast.
God, it is. Right through high school.
Yep, all the way through high school, and then at that point, it kind of had a split. Going to college, again, wasn't the size I needed to be to play at a competitive level.
Right. College.
But I ended up going to UNH, University of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And there, the best part about college is there's a bunch of intramural sports, especially with going to a bigger, state school. You have a lot of these really great athletes that just didn't make the D1 team or didn't want to play.
Right, yeah.
But flag football was one of my favorite things that I played intramural wise.
Right, yeah.
And we had some really talented people that we would play against, and it was a blast. You still get that itch.
Yeah.
I guess.
Did your brother play football with you?
Yes, he did. Yep.
That's what I'm saying. You guys could just ding and dong and the stories.
Did everything together.
Did everything. And the family and mom and dad can watch, and it's just so much fun watching your children play. I can't explain it, especially when you have a good attitude and you put your heart and soul into it, like you guys do.
Yeah.
And then employment now. You actually got into the field where you can help people out in sports.
I do. Yeah, it kind of inspired me to get into that field. So when I was at UNH, I studied mechanical engineering. Graduated with that. Ended up going to Northeastern, got my graduate degree in bioengineering.
Okay.
And then from there, I was hired on full-time at Johnson & Johnson to work for one of their orthopedic companies, which is DePuy Synthes. Yeah. So they're specifically working in the sports medicine space, where I design and manufacture pretty much across the board all of the surgical equipment that the surgeons would use to, let's say, if you tore your ACL, or you have a labrum or a rotator cuff repair that you need to get done.
Right.
I'm working on the instruments that the surgeons would use in order to fix you.
Wow.
Yeah, which is just awesome.
Yeah. And you just try to improve them or make them more...
Both, yeah. Improving our existing line of products that we have out there. just like anything, when you produce a product, it goes out to the market.
You know,
there's
improving it.
some things are good about it, and then some things aren't necessarily good. So you get some feedback, and then you make it better in the next revision.
Right. Yeah. And is a lot of it robotic? I mean,
that space is now coming pretty active. Yeah. So we have quite a bit of robotics that we're working on in a different side of the business, and then some things you can't automate with a robot, right? Arthroscopy being one of them, where you go in minimally invasive and. It's really up to the surgeon to kind of do their own, interoperative scoping and see
every
what the
person's
pathology
different.
is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Every person's different. Yeah. Excuse me. But as a robot, they're on a monitor, and you did moving that robot. Am I right? Is that how they do that?
Yeah, one aspect of it. Yeah. A lot of the robots are used to increase precision. So if you're drilling different canals, or if you're a lot of it's for drilling, right, or reaming out bone and doing placements for hip replacements or something like that, or shoulder replacement, right? So all of the implants, a lot of the robotics is just really creating a nice prepared site to place the implant with a lot more precision. So you have better outcomes, and healing rates are increased.
So if you have a team maybe that you work with,
absolutely.
So if you guys invent something. Is that your patent? Do you get credit for that patent?
The name goes on the patent for we're submitting patents all the time. For whatever there is. As long as there's nothing, no invention in that space, then you submit the patent. Whether or not it comes to fruition or not, you still have the patent, which is kind of cool. And that's how other companies work, and that's how a bunch of people work as well. But
the company owns the patent, or does they give you? I know you get credit.
The company would own the company would own the patent, but your name is on that patent. Which is nice.
That's good for a resume.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
What have you done, Mr. Hall? Well, here, this is what I had done. This is what I invented last week. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, that's nice. Yeah. And how long have you been doing that?
So I've been there for just about a little over 2 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. So I originally started as a co-op, and I was working when I was still in grad school. I was actually working full time and doing grad school full time. So you can imagine how busy that was. But so I worked as a co-op for about 2 months, and then got hired on full time. Kind of right place, right time. The person whose position I filled in for ended up leaving the company.
Can't beat that.
So right place, right time.
That's right. Yeah.
Interviewed well, and ended up getting hired on full time. And then ended up getting a promotion last year. So, which was awesome. So
I believe in karma. Good karma. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You and your brother, and it's your mother and father. They raised both of you as well, because. You guys are humble. You're respectful. Whenever we play any kind of sport, like I said, we played horseshoes together, and I dread the name Hall that I'm playing against, and I had to play against you and your father just 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it's funny because I placed it on Facebook. You guys were in Florida, or your father was in Florida, and I said I think it was his birthday.
Yep.
I said, happy birthday, I see you in Florida. Can you stay in there? And if your kids are there, can they stay there? So maybe I can win the horseshoes. What happens? You and your father become partners.
Yep.
And who do I play my second group? The two Halls. I said, "Oh Jesus!" Karma got me right in the butt. You know what I'm saying? And then I lost. But it's and as I say, I wanted to get your brother on here also, and he's a busy guy, same as you.
He is. Yeah, he's down in Texas right now.
We'll get you together, and you can bang off each other. You know what absolutely. I'm saying? But two of the most polite and humble guys, and that's why I enjoy. Watching you guys play or do whatever you're doing, do you compete at all on? You do the on the boat the what is that?
Wake surfing,
the wake surfing.
Wakeboarding. All
do you
that
ever
stuff.
Compete on that? Is there?
No, that's
no
just for fun.
Just
yeah,
for fun.
That is just for fun. Yeah, right. Some things are good for competition, and some things are good for just playing around.
Just figuring you're a skier, your balance and your body. But do they even have competition around the area for wakeboarding and stuff?
I'm sure Winnipesaukee might have.
What do they do? They do tricks? Or
exactly. Yeah, they have like kind of man-made ponds where it's a strip, and sometimes there's like cables that will pull you, and you can do different tricks, and just like you would in a freestyle competition skiing. In a similar way, you get ranked or pointage based off of how the level of skill that you show and demonstrate, or how difficult a trick was and you landed it, type of thing.
But you only have so much time in a day to practice, and it's like, let's have some fun here. Enough with the
it's fun to jump out there and
But you do all kinds of tricks, I bet, out there and stuff, and because you guys live on that boat when you're out there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And your father's got a beautiful boat. He's got a ski boat.
He does, yeah. Yep.
It's funny because I'll see you walking by, and if you're walking by, and I go, oh, the lake must be calm. They're out there going out there real early.
Oh yeah.
Early or late or whatever. Seems like midday is always windy.
Yeah, it's windy. You get all the boats out there. The jet skis
boats.
are out there too, which is always a nightmare trying to.
It's a nightmare.
Do the sports.
Yeah, because I see the jet skis trailing you guys so they can jump your waves.
Exactly. You know, when you're throwing off a big wake, it's, you know, that's one of the frustrating parts about being on a smaller lake, or at least doing sports on a smaller lake. When the jet skis get out there, they're trying to jump your wake, but who knows when that person's going to go down, and then you hear about the horror stories.
Oh, I can imagine. There's horror stories every week.
Exactly.
And like I say, we're on a bay, which is, it's a lake, but we're not on Ossipee itself. And that is just one choppy, windy lake all the time and busy. Yeah. Always busy. Although it's a nice big one. It's kind of big. But did you ever go up on Onepisaki and see?
I have, I have some friends that have some property over there. And, you know, I'm able to get out there. Sometimes around the 4th of July, we'll go out to like Braun Bay. Right. But yeah, you know, that Winnipesaukee is, you think our lake is choppy. Winnipesaukee is. Oh, no,
it's like an ocean, right?
Twice, yeah.
Yeah, it's like an ocean.
It's choppy.
You can't even see the other end.
Yeah.
I would never bring my boat out there because I'd get, well, you got a GPS now.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I got lost in Ossipee going, where do I go back in?
Yeah.
You know, when you first go out. You and your brother both have your license, both go out. And how long have you had your license for?
As soon as I got my driver's license, I took the boater test the next day.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Very good. Good.
Yeah, our pops always had us, you know, driving the boat when we were younger too, and he would coach us up. And
is that legal today to have like a child that doesn't have his license to drive a boat?
As long as the person that has their license on the boat is teaching and is guiding, or at least is there
going easy
or some sort of
is it like if
they're held liable, right?
Right. Well, that's your father. So
yeah.
But if Harbor Patrol come by and go, does he have a license? Well, no, I'm teaching him. You can do that. I didn't know that. I thought you had to have a license to get behind the.
For smaller boats, you actually, I think it's under like 25 cc maybe. I think you can actually drive without having any sort of license. Right. Which is kind of cool for some of those. You see some of those younger kids, you know, taking out their little dinghies to go fishing or pick blueberries.
But back in the day, when I'm talking about 25, 30 years ago, I seen little kids out there. They probably didn't have their license, right?
Yeah, it probably wasn't regulated.
You have to have an age.
Yeah.
It's an age, 16.
Yeah, 16, yeah. And you have to have your driver's license in order to take the test.
Okay, all right. And then so recently you got into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And that's what we just had the show on. I begged him not to take me on the ground and turn me into a pretzel because I'm all mic'd up and I like breathing. And it seems like every other move in jiu-jitsu is, I can't talk, I can't breathe. You go for the, How about my arm doesn't belong over there? Yeah. So you started last October.
Yep.
And you started training, and where we get in Boston?
Yeah, down in Boston, in South End.
Right. And it is jiu-jitsu.
Or South Boston, sorry.
Right. Yeah. And what made you decide you wanted to do that, jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things that I never had a focus to be like, hey, you know, once I'm done all these other sports, I'm going to go and get into this. But one of my best friends from college who lives down in Boston with me, he, you know, one day we were talking and he's like, hey, you should come to class. And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds like that could be a lot of fun. I had
no idea
what jiu-jitsu was like. I didn't wrestle in high school. The only person I wrestled was my twin brother. Right.
Yeah. So, but that taught you a lot.
Definitely. Yeah. It teaches you resilience.
Yeah.
So I ended up going for that first day, signed up for 6 months and have not looked back.
Wow.
It's, you know, it's just one of those things that it's a very humbling sport. Getting into there, not knowing how to control someone else's body who is half the size, and they can put you into the pretzel real quick.
Very quickly.
So it's just a new sport, you know, something to focus on outside of just, you know, the day to day. You know, take some steam out, and honestly, like it's just a really awesome sport. Like I said, it challenges you mentally, challenges you physically. It's a great workout.
Right.
But there's just it's a journey. It's not like, hey, I can get really good at this super quick and overnight. No, I have to. Patience. Everything's repetition, lots of hours.
Like anything.
Watching film, also, you know, drilling.
And you grew up like that, so you understood. If I want to get better, I got to watch films. I got to listen to my coach. I got to train, and at repetition, you got to do it a million times.
Yeah, my parents were always, you know, our biggest supporters when it came to that too, and really, you know, hammering that nail on the, or hammering the head on the nail, right? and just saying, hey, if you want to get good at something, it's going to take time.
It's going to take time.
Right.
You got to have patience.
Right.
And do your homework. And you did. Because your first tournament, explain what happened in your first tournament.
Yeah, first
you
tournament.
didn't know what to expect. You had no idea.
Honestly,
right?
it was probably one of the best feelings going into it. Right, I hadn't felt the good anxiety, the built up anxiety or the waves of anxiety like I had, competing with football back in high school.
Right.
I think it had been like 5 or 6 years since I had felt that feeling.
Right.
Walking into something new, not really knowing, where I stand. I have only grappled, against the competition I have in my gym.
Right.
Great competition, but who knows the rest of the world is doing. Right.
And now it's dire to do it. It's dire straits. You gotta.
Oh yeah.
This guy's going after you with
100%,
and you're going 100. There's no letting go. Yeah. So
exactly.
You don't know what you're gonna.
So walked up first match, and I was like, okay, we're starting from the standing. Hadn't really practiced that too much, but I had a little bit of a strategy going in there, and then once the ref dialed us in or rang us in to start the match, it was. I think I blacked out.
You don't remember anything?
Not too much, honestly. It's like once you get into, you're so zoned in and so focused, on that match, and until looking back after, watching videos after and being like, oh yeah, that's what happened in this position, or maybe I could have done this a little bit differently.
Right. Yeah.
But I was super surprised by the way the first tournament went.
Right.
Super pleased.
Right.
I got a submission on my first attempt or first match, which was great. Second match came along. And he was a very athletic dude as well, and it came down to it was a decision at the very end. I ended up losing that match, but then had 4 other matches after, and won all by submission after, and won gold.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's and the guy that you lost to, what happened to him? Did you end up?
So I ended up facing him in the finals. Yeah.
Again.
And then submitted him in the finals.
Oh wow, that was icing on the cake for that.
Yeah.
And so you got a gold. You're up there. They put the gold around you, and now you're hooked.
Oh yeah.
And there's no feeling like gold around your body.
Oh, absolutely.
And with all your family, every friends, everybody watching, it's like, I'm not letting this go.
Yeah.
You go home and watch the film, and you're in another world for
back
days.
in the gym the next week.
Oh yeah. Now
it's like, all right, I got some things to focus on, and that's what everyone in our gym, all the upper belts, had always said too. He's like, once you get into a competition gives you like 6 months additional training, because now you understand where you stand against different people and different training methods as well. Yeah. Right, people similar in belts to you, or similar in skill level, but different approaches as to how to.
And coaches are going to say, this is what you could have done, and this is what you should have done. And if you listen, which you will, and you practice that, and then your second meet, you were ready.
Yeah,
you're a seasoned veteran right now.
Yeah,
another gold.
Yeah, another gold. Yeah, the second one was a lot more difficult competition. I think size-wise, they were a little bit bigger. I don't know if that was the water in New Hampshire. So the first one was down in Boston, and the second one was up in New Hampshire.
Right.
And just a lot stronger opponents. But I ended up winning. I had one by submission, and then the rest of them were all by points. So I ended up winning gold again, and yeah.
Did you what do you call it? You call it fighting, right? Did you fight?
Yeah, grapple.
Grapple. Yeah. Did you do was it anyone that you had in your previous first?
I wasn't. Yeah, no, all new opponents.
All
new opponents there this time around, which was also kind of interesting as well. You get to see a lot more different techniques, and this time around, a lot more people, or a lot more of the competition had stripes on their belts, meaning they had been at it for a little bit, whether it was through time or through skill.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and so because especially as you get higher in rank, it's going to get harder. You're gonna get harder. Not going to get easier.
Nope.
But then you'll get a name. All of a sudden, it's like, oh man, I've seen him before, and now there's a psych going on. Mm-hmm. It really is. There's a psych, and people say, I've seen him fight before. Oh my God, you'll look at the competition even before. And you'll say, I think I got it. I think I got this one. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. It's like sizing up your component.
You can size up your component,
In football, looking across the field, saying, okay, that's the person I'm going against. Wow, he looks scared. Or, vice versa.
It's vice versa. But you never try to act scared. You try to act as cool, as calm as you can possibly do. And the funny thing is, at 25, you're in a prime. say, as we said, 4 or 5 years, you blink your eye and you've been in it for 4 or 5 years. Now it's wild.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's now, do you get to your instructors? Do you train with them a lot, like one-on-one with them? They grapple with you, or you grapple?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, yesterday in our so we have white belt classes on Wednesdays and Fridays at 6, and in one of the white belt classes that we're doing, typically like the last third of the class is meant for grappling with opponents. So we get matched up, similar weights, and then we have at it.
Right.
And during my rest session, the instructor actually pulled me aside and put me in his guard, and we started going at it for that session. So that was a lot of fun. Again, going from a white belt and then grappling against someone, either a brown belt or a black belt, humbles you so quickly. But it's great. It's a great reference point. And it helps them understand, okay, like where are they gaps in knowledge. I actually set up a one-on-one with him for this Friday, as a matter of fact, to just learn a little bit more in depth and kind of focus more on my own skills that I'm trying to perfect, rather than just the.
Do you ask him? Do you have, let's say, skills that you say, "Can you teach me this?" Or does he say, "This is what I want you to learn"? How does that go back and forth?
So there's a typical, we have like about 40 people that are in our class, anywhere between 40 to 60 in a class at a time. So there's always an instruction during that period, and they typically, for a month at a time, will have some sort of focus on a position, whether that be escaping out of this position or submissions, or
and you'll stay on that.
You usually stay on that, different aspects of it. How to approach different situations, but. You're always open to pulling one of them aside, whether it's before class, asking upper belts, hey, I keep getting myself into this position.
Okay.
How can I, what do you usually do? What's your go-to? And just having, little things that you can start focusing on. And that's where a lot of the game is actually taking outside of the mats and, looking at videos and, getting different opinions and whatnot.
Right. And as I said, we just did a show probably about a half hour ago, me and Travis, and he just, it was informational, and but your instructors will probably end up watching this if they're not watching it now, because that wasn't live. They might be watching this, but that wasn't live. And you're gonna have to go back, and they're gonna go, "What did you do there? Why are you doing that?" Maybe my instructor with Grandmaster Lee used to. I mean, I was 6th or 7th degree at the time, Bob. And he was always on, "You've changed your style in punching." I says, "Really, Mr. Lee? You drop your hands too much." And he'd walk away. And I know I didn't, but he'd like to say that. And your kicks, you don't chamber like I taught you. And he'd walk away. Boy, next time he saw me, them chambers and my punches were up. And that's what they like to do. They like to, and it keeps you humble.
Yep.
Yeah.
Plants a little seed.
But you'll love it. You'll love it. And like I say, competition, horseshoes, competition, pickleball, alpine racing. You win once and you are hooked. You're going back. Next competition, you want to go back, and you're going to practice. Not that we practice on horseshoe much. I don't get to, but if you really want to do well, just practice the day before at horseshoes or whatever. But when you guys, all right, I want that gold at that next. When's the next meet?
I think I'm gonna try to do one in the fall.
Right.
Yeah, I was kind of taking the summer off. Still doing jiu-jitsu and going to classes and stuff like that.
They got them year round.
Just
right?
Oh yeah. Every three or 4 months, you usually have a local competition. So just trying to learn more about the game, maybe start framing more of my game, and learn different approaches, and then take that into the next competition.
So what do you do for exercises to gain strength and stuff? Are you doing a lot of weight training?
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu alone
is enough.
I've never felt stronger in my life than.
Yeah. You're using every muscle.
A lot of it's grips, and a lot of it's resistive training during classes and whatnot. But recently, I started getting back into the gym. I really enjoy lifting weights. So usually about 3 times a week, I'll try to mix in like a double session. I'm going to jiu-jitsu 5 days a week. So on like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'll get into the gym and focus on whether it's a push, pull, and then a leg day type of thing. Right. So still trying to mix in more of the explosive training.
Just for the strength-wise.
Exactly, just strength-wise,
Just for the strength.
And mobility, stretching out. Doing,
and you want to look good anyway. Yeah, we don't care if we look good. But that's, you have to. And a lot of running?
Cardio wise, I feel like I maintain, the way that I structure my workouts is I mix in like a cardio core element in between sets. So when I'm in the gym, I'm there for 45 minutes, but I'm working straight for that 45 minutes, right?
Straight.
Low rest. No. Some sort of, like I said, cardio core element, whether that's with a kettlebell, just keeping the heart rate up.
Keep going.
And I find that actually does enough for me. I don't enjoy long distance running.
No,
my knees are kind of poor from growing up in sports.
They have the ellipticals where you gym you go?
Yeah,
those
they
good.
have ellipticals. They have stair climber. I love doing the stair climber. Rowing machine, love rowing. It's another.
You know how exhausted you can get when 100%. Competition's stiff.
Oh yeah.
How do they run the competition? Is it 2-minute rounds?
5-minute rounds.
5-minute
and you're guaranteed, no matter what, at least a 5-minute break. So typically they'll put, there's all different levels, all different weight groups, different ages, all that stuff, right? And they usually structure, you have a couple hours to get all those matches in. And so it's a 5-minute round. Normally you have at least one break or potentially 2 breaks, and then you're back on.
With the same match
for this format, it's called a round robin format. Right. So you're guaranteed 4 matches as long as you have enough people.
So you're going to do 5 minutes with the same person, then you're done.
Yep, and then you're done. Win or lose. Yep, and then you go on to the next person.
Okay,
and then you do
round
that.
robin.
So so you have 4 matches, and then from there you get ranked.
And
then the top
brackets.
4, depending on how many people you have in your group. If you have 20 people competing in your group, maybe top 8 move on, and then it's a knockout elimination.
Knockout, right,
If it's just 8 people in your group, top 4 will compete for gold, silver, and bronze.
Okay. Yep. All right. Yeah. So 5 minutes is, because I used to do 3-minute rounds in Taekwondo, and 1 3-minute round, your lungs are on fire.
Oh yeah.
They're on fire. You're not fighting your opponent. You're fighting to live.
Yeah.
And that's with a lot of cardio, a lot of running and stuff. So 5 minutes, and you're not stopping. You're going. I mean, you better have a good cardio.
Yeah, lactic acid starts to build up. They always say like the forearm pump that you get after a match is not like you get in in training. We normally do 5-minute rounds in training. In the white belt classes, only 2-minute rounds, 3-minute rounds, but in the other classes that we get to participate in, it's 5-minute rounds, which is great. So at least you get some sort of training, and
you're getting ready.
It's very similar to what a live competition would look like, but yeah, it's definitely exhausting. Even just a half hour to an hour of rolling, it's like you're you're done for the day.
Right. And I can only imagine you got a competitor who's matched with you or maybe better, and you're fighting tooth and nail to get in and out. 5 minutes is an eternity.
Yeah, especially at the white belt level. I think you typically find people use their strength more often than not, and it's just because of a lack of knowledge. And I find myself doing that as well. When you get into a certain position, sometimes you can muscle your way through. But if you're, like you said, if you're against another person that's equal or more strength, sometimes you can tucker yourself out a little too quick. It's kind of understanding the balance between there. Right.
And if like you're really tired, but they're having a hard time giving you a submission, you can't rest, but you can kind of give it a second.
Yeah.
Like wiggle around and just all right, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
I would imagine. Yeah, I don't know because I've never been in that situation.
Yeah, when you get into a grappling session and you find someone that's in a more dominant position, they will likely take a few seconds, make sure that you're gripped and they have full control, and then give themselves a little bit of a breather.
Break,
while during that time the person's probably trying to scramble, or maybe they do a couple scramble moves, but then they feel locked out. You almost have to take a second as well to catch your own breath.
Right. Yeah.
Think about what kind of techniques you learned months ago, whatever, just to escape. As
you're competing, so you're down on the ground or whatever you're doing, is your coaches allowed to scream out what they want you to do? Yeah. And can you listen and can you hear them?
Yeah, just like any competition though, when you're zoned in, you're zoned in. So a lot of the time it's definitely them helping to trigger the clock as well. So because the clock is important. When there's only 30 seconds left,
they're going to let you know.
You can go for a 30-second sprint type of thing, right? But if there's 2 minutes left, maybe you hold on to his position a little bit longer, and then you try to get like a sweep for extra points.
Right.
But when there's 30 seconds left, that's like the go time.
And there's a name for every move you do. Yeah. So you have to know every name.
Yeah, I still haven't locked down all those. I know the name, but they're I know the move, but not the name.
Yeah, that's because there's hundreds and hundreds of them.
Thousands. Yeah, there's so many different techniques. And,
wow.
everyone has a different version of what, our
That's
gym
right.
calls, certain sweeps this, where other gyms, or even when you look it up online, sometimes that's actually the hardest part is,
Right.
we hear it as one thing and then you have to go research it. You almost have to research
Something
by
else.
like typing what's happening rather than what the,
Right.
the move is actually called.
Right. Yeah, right, because even in Taekwondo, there's different schools called different kicks, different names, and it's like, what's that? That's not what we call that.
Yeah.
No, that's what it is. Oh yeah, that's what you call it. Yeah. And I can hear. So your coaches, one or two or whatever, are screaming, reverse, back, blah blah.
Oh, yeah.
And you try to do it, or
Yeah, 100%. A lot of the times it's like more positionally wise. So like,
Right.
hey, get your hand on his
That's what
collar.
they'll say.
Like,
Okay.
so you
but
can
they
try
can
to
hear that too.
Yeah. If the opponent is listening, yes, that definitely happens, and I've heard that too. Like, a lot of the time, I like to take a close, so I put them into my close guard, is what it's called, where my legs are wrapped around their hips and we're
Right.
on the ground. And if my legs end up opening, you'll hear the coach goes, legs are open, time to move.
Okay.
And that typically is a time for them to scoot out of that
Get out
position
of it
and work
quick,
into a different area.
Right.
The best part is hearing the parents. The audience will be screaming, legs are open, or different.
So there's 1,000 people.
It's
all
the moms
screaming
and the dads trying to
Yeah.
tell their kid what to do, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
You must see a
It's a
lot
good
of
atmosphere.
Now, as we just did the show earlier, as I mentioned, you got me into some arm lock, and I'm like, he moves one more inch, my whole shoulder's coming off.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, you weren't even putting pressure. There must be some unbelievable rotor cuff injuries.
Yeah, when you get into an Americana or a Kimura, which are two shoulder finishes where your arms either bend, behind you or
You got to
top
know
in
that
front
you
of
got to tap out.
Yeah, you have to. And even when we're training, there's been injuries, at the gym or just in competition. I'm pretty sure, and in the last competition there was 3 shoulder injuries. One of them I had gone against him the round before, and he had torn his labrum. He's like, "Yeah, I know for a fact my labrum is torn right now because he didn't tap early enough."
Right.
When you're in competition, when you're in training, it's a lot different because you normally put on the submission a lot slower than you would in competition.
Right. So everything's fast.
Being gentlemen, right? But in competition, it goes quick. So if you're trying to get a submission really quick and you don't tap quick enough, or you're trying to muscle it out, you can get spiral fractures and really mess up your shoulder. You can do your knees, same thing.
But I mean, once you do that shoulder, are you ever the same? I mean,
mentally, no.
No, you've seen it.
It's hard.
And there's no kind of pad you wear or anything. It's just you're on your own.
Yeah, and even if there was padding there too,
it wouldn't help.
Really
No. When your arm's in that position,
spiral fractures, either with the elbow. Same thing with a if you're doing like an arm lock, right, or an arm bar, right.
And the spiral fractures are the worst.
Oh yeah,
because they splinter out, and it's not a break.
Yep.
It's a spiral. So it's got to heal along that spiral. That's what my father had when he went skiing.
Yeah,
and the doctor says you couldn't ask for a worse break ever. Not on your fibula and tibia.
Yeah.
And that was it. He had a hard time walking after that.
Yeah.
So skiing was gone.
Yeah.
But so I mean, just doing that, what I did with you and my my nephew when he was on the show, and he had me on the ground, and he was turning me into a pretzel, and everything seemed to be wrapped around not letting the guy breathe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to talk here. Hey, I'm trying to do a show. And he's going, and then and I'm going, all right, enough. Right. Yeah. And I could feel if he wanted to, I could go right out.
Yeah.
And I was tapping, and he wasn't listening. He was doing the show. I'm going, all right, I got it. So what happens if you're tapping and the guy don't let go? The refs just jump in.
Yeah, they normally would. I mean, in a rare case, I've always found, at least the people I've gone against so far, that it's really much a gentleman's sport. You might seem like you guys are fighting in the mix of it, but once you get tapped, or even if it's submission or the time's over, you pop back up. They crown the winner, and then you're both going in for either a handshake or going in for a hug. Good match, all that stuff. You shake each other's coaches. It's very much a gentleman's sport.
Your best friends will be people who you've beaten and he's beaten you.
Yeah.
Down the road, if you keep it going, it's happened to me. Major Battle is one of my best buddies now. Yeah. Gentleman from Boston. He'd beat me, I'd beat him, and we'd go back, and we want to do another one eventually, even if we're older. God only knows if it'll happen, but we always talk about it, because no one ever does that, none of that, right? But he broke my nose. We fought twice, he broke my nose twice. Second time I was mad. You son of... Yeah, he had the perfect kick. My nose has been broken I don't know how many times. But after the fight, we knew.
Yeah.
We were the ones at the end, and you're going to meet people like that, and you already have.
Yeah.
You'll see these guys out, and you go, remember when we did this? And it's just a rush.
Yeah.
Everything comes back to you, and now with phones and everything, I mean, everyone's taking movies of it. You're all over the place.
Yeah.
You know,
sharing videos and
sharing
all that stuff,
video.
right?
Yeah.
Getting people's contacts to maybe come visit the gym.
Oh,
and vice versa if you're in the area.
It's gotten so big
awesome.
over the last years. Years ago, no one did jiu-jitsu. No one. The Gracie boys in MMA really kind of made it. They opened up the world's eyes on jiu-jitsu. They really did. I don't know if you remember Hoist Gracie when he started. Do you remember watching that? You were young.
I was probably too young at the time, and it wasn't those things that was like that pinned my interest as much. But yeah,
right.
And I've seen some videos of him in the past.
He was no one was ready for him or his brothers, and they didn't care how big you were. Yeah. He was like a little guy, and he'd have them down in submissions in seconds.
Oh yeah,
and they're going and in all styles. And they're going, uh-oh, what do we got here? No one's touching him. He'd win and win and win and win. And then all of a sudden people started doing your jiu-jitsu and then doing their martial arts, taekwondo or whatever, and they put it together. Yeah. He didn't care. His father was a Brazilian crazy guy. You heard about that, blood matches and death matches.
Oh, yeah.
So this is toying that, he was toying around with people in his MMA.
He's bringing them into their space, his world.
Yeah. Oh, come on in. And I would watch and I'd say, and after going with you, because I really never did too much at the Taekwondo school, it was Taekwondo, as I do stuff with you guys, the power you seem to have, we could be equal in strength, but once you got me in a hole, it's like you double your power.
Oh, yeah.
Over me being out of balance, what you did to me there, in seconds you had me out of balance and putting me in a move. And I'm like, I'm as weak as a kitten.
Yeah. Yeah, there's many times where, you feel off balance or you feel super light, and it's like, wow, this is a weird feeling because I know I can't really do anything in this situation. Right. You just have to wait till the next move happens. Right. And hopefully, you don't land yourself in a tough position where you're going to get submitted or
and submitted is you only tapping out or them putting you on is that?
Yeah, it's
you got to tap out. A tap out.
You would tap out, yeah.
Not your shoulders tucked to the ground.
No, that's all wrestling. So wrestling,
so they don't count you out at all.
Yeah, there's no like pins or anything like that.
So it's submission. I quit. Yeah. I'm tired.
Yeah, it's either submission or once the time runs out, it's whoever has accumulated more points.
All right. Now,
getting crowned.
As we were doing it, I was noticing as we were going into different moves. At any point you want to take an elbow, you could take my jaw or my nose right off. Yeah, that close. Does that happen a lot? Did you see?
I mean, yeah, everyone gets kind of banged up. No one's doing it intentionally, but
because intentionally you get, would they take points away from you? Or what?
Yeah. In competition, you would definitely see the ref deduct some points. I've seen that happen before in just the a few competitions.
Thinking that they did it,
get disqualified. So, like I said, when we were out there doing the show, you're not allowed to slam. I was kind of preaching that a little bit. That did happen in one of the competitions where a slamming event took place, and ref stopped it, called it, and that person was disqualified. Which
because you could destroy someone's shoulder.
Yeah, it's just a level of danger. It's like not necessarily what the sport is, right? That's more of like a
because you could do it if you wanted.
Exactly.
So it's too
that's
easy.
not the art.
That's not the art. It's the art is balance and
controlling
technique,
the body,
controlling the other guy's body.
Yeah,
and you can never stop learning, right? I mean, ever.
Right? Yeah,
no matter endless. Who you are.
I mean, you look at black belts that have 5, 6, 7 stripes that are still learning, right? Because the sport's just endless, and it's always growing too. I think one of those things that we always hear from our instructor, our head instructor, is that back then we used to do it this way, and this is the old way of doing it, but here's a new way or a different application, right? Everything is always changing.
That's right.
In that sense,
in all arts,
exactly.
You have to go with what works better, especially if it ends up in the Olympics and stuff. All of a sudden, you see one guy. Wow, I've never seen that move before.
Yeah, you have to evolve,
and then there you go. That sets people now. Does your instructor, because everyone's different, everyone has a different style. You could be all jiu-jitsu, but you have your style and someone else has their style. What kind of style do you think you have, or did they tell you this is the way you fight?
I think in general, we're known to be like a pressure gym, and what that means is just learning how to use your own weight,
right,
and really apply a lot of pressure in different situations to make your opponent in like a lot more, or put your opponent in a lot of discomfort.
Right.
So that makes getting into different advantage positions a lot easier.
Right.
Right. But it's really just learning how to control, because you can control a lot of the body with pressure.
Because, all right, so you're tall and wiry. You got a guy short and stocky. It's got to be two different fights, two different styles.
Yeah. Honestly, with the shorter, someone that's short and stocky, it's very difficult because they're so compact. And I find that jiu-jitsu is a very compact sport, right? Getting in small gaps,
right?
Closing off anything that's open, right? And, you know, it can be difficult to, I guess, go against people like that, but you just have to frame the game a little bit differently, right? So put a little bit more space so that you can swing your legs around to work yourself into a side control position. But then once you get that, right, making sure that they can't wiggle their legs back in.
Right.
So
and you could fight. He could be you're 6'2", 6'3".
Oh yeah.
He could be 5'8".
Yeah.
It's all weight. You're in a weight class.
Yep.
You're in a weight class. You heavy?
215 weight class. So it's not heavyweight. It goes up to after 215, it goes to 230, and then it's 230 plus.
Right. And they're giants.
Yeah, those are big boys.
So you keep down. So you try to keep. What's your max weight that you can go? At 213?
At 215, yeah.
215.
In some competitions, it's 208 and under, and then the next one below that would be 200.
Right. So do you ever think of losing weight so you'd be with low, even because you're tall?
Yeah.
And that.
Yeah. So I get down to like that 204, 205 mark sometimes, and for me, I don't feel as strong.
Right.
Right.
So you won't feel strong.
I could probably get down to like the 200 mark.
Right.
And maybe compete at that level, but it would be a little harder, I think.
Would you have any advantage? I don't know if there would be an advantage. Would you? Would it matter? Because you are tall, and but it doesn't matter. See, in Taekwondo, it does.
Height-wise, yeah.
Yeah, height-wise, big difference.
Yeah.
And in just 10 pounds.
It's reach and
10 pounds. Well, with the legs.
Yeah.
And I remember fighting a little heavier than I should have, and I looked at this guy going, he's like 300 pounds. What are you putting him in the ring with me? He had me by 10 pounds, but boy, was he much taller.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference on the reach and stuff. But you guys, it's still technique.
Yeah.
And strength, too.
Yeah. I honestly find people that are a little bit smaller in size, in some circumstances, have an advantage. Now, for certain chokes or being able to reach, holding someone in your guard, I have very long legs, so it's easy for me. It's a lot easier for me to maintain a guard,
right?
A closed guard rather, versus some people that are shorter and stockier. They don't have the leg reach to get around hips, right, and control that position.
Right.
So for me, that's how I guess a game would be more or less framed. Right. So, I'm comfortable being on my back. And
oh, really?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable being on my back and having someone in my closed guard, only because I know that my leg length helps me a lot. It's very difficult for people to get out of my closed guard.
Do you and your brother is not considered? He's my height. I think he's 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah, about 5'10". Yeah.
All right, and when you wrestle with him? He's compact and he's bulking up too. He's
he's strong. He's definitely stronger than I am now.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's got to be in some in some lifts,
right.
Chest, squatting, stuff like that. Some of those powerlifting.
But you do wrestle with each other.
Oh yeah. Well, now it's fun for me because I have all the technique, but he is so invested in learning now.
Right.
So we'll go at it for a little bit. I'll get him into a choke, or he'll have to tap out, and then he's like, "Okay, what did you do right there? How'd you get me? How should I do this?"
That's beautiful.
Right. So that's how we grew up, right?
Yeah, of course it is.
I have a skill that he doesn't, or I know something that he doesn't, and I'm going to help him so that when we get into a situation,
that's right. Yeah.
And maybe if I'm not with him, or if someone jumps him in the streets or something like that, he's that much better trained, or at least has some sort of knowledge there.
He walked by the camp the other day, and I said, Austin, come here. So he comes over and. I shook his hand and I hit him on the arm and shoulder, and I went, in my mind, no, in my mind I went, what the this guy is a rock.
Yeah.
And I went, and I didn't say anything, but I said, you coming to the show and stuff? I can. Blah, 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 blah. And he's busy. Like I said, all right, but we will get you on.
Yeah.
I told him we're getting him on. He's doing mountain bike racing. Or
yeah, he just recently got into mountain biking. That's kind of been like his new gig.
What about you? Tell me you're not going to do that.
No. I'm going to stick to the jiu-jitsu and maybe once if I go out there, and he actually just moved out to Colorado. So if I go out and visit
him. He moved
him,
out there?
He just signed a long-term lease. So he's out there. He moved in January for a short-term lease just until May. Yeah. Ended up loving it. Met some good guys and some friends.
You got relatives out there?
Yeah, we have some relatives out there as well, yeah. So he ended up signing a lease for another year, which is awesome. And he's just loving it, soaking it all up.
Nice for you. You can go visit anytime.
Yeah, exactly. It's a free visit for me.
Here I come.
Great. Yeah.
All the skiing.
Free place to stay.
He's still skiing. He's doing all the skiing now.
Oh, yeah. And that's, when you have nothing holding you back here, that's the best place to ski. So.
Right. That's good for you. Good for both of you. And like I say, you've got him by 4 or 5 inches. Yeah. 4 inches.
That was a weird thing growing up, too. It wasn't until probably a sophomore year of high school where I kind of started to get my spurt. Yeah. And it was, within a couple inches, and then it ended up being like 3 inches. And then I think by the time it was like senior year, it was like 3 or 4 inches. Once we got into college, it was sophomore year of college, I think it finally stopped growing. Right. But he kind of plateaued where he was.
Yeah. That's pretty funny for twins, I would imagine.
Identical twins too, yeah.
Yeah. And, but your father's tall. Most of your uncles and everyone, you had a tall
Mom's
family.
tall, dad's tall, yeah.
Yeah, and even your grandfather was tall, and some of your uncles. So that's where you might get it. And he's got Uncle John's side of it. A little plug for my buddy Uncle John. Well, that's almost an hour we went through, buddy.
Wow, that's quick.
What I want to do is I want everyone to know you can watch this on Taekwondo Grandmaster Bob Lemire. You can watch it on YouTube. It's on DATV also. And Spotify, anywhere there's a podcast, you can get this show. So
awesome.
Spread it around. I'm gonna have you back.
Yeah,
I love having guests like you back, and bring somebody.
I will.
Whether it's your brother or whether it's somebody, and you can grapple all over the ground.
Yeah,
that's what I want, and you'll have fun doing it.
Get some mats in there.
You bring mats, or I can get some mats and stuff, and go on the ground, show us some stuff, and then we'll go on this show and bang back and forth on experiences and stuff. Even if you wanted to coach, one of your coaches, you could have some fun with him, and he'll tell you where the dog died and where you stand and where. What ranks are they? The black
the gym owner is I think a 4th degree or a 5th degree black belt.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And then usually for the white belt instruction, it's a brown belt that is
right.
It's at the gym. Yeah,
right. You're getting the basics. You got to get the basics down, and then. Did you say you got to grapple at all with the Grandmaster? Oh, he doesn't.
No, not yet. No. But he does. During on our Monday and Tuesday sessions, he'll pick and pull certain people and grapple with them. Yeah, and have some fun. Yeah, toy around with them.
Just to let you know where he stands.
Oh yeah,
and stuff. Yeah, because it's like you say, it's technique and balance and throwing people off, and especially cocky guys thinking that they know. Come here, young man. We're gonna work here.
Yeah, that's the best part. It's a really quick way to humble someone too.
Oh my God!
Honestly, it's rewarding. It's a privilege to go against someone that has that technique and can.
Most sports are humbling, but some sports you get humbled by if somebody wants to humble you.
Yeah.
Golf. There's no more humbling sport than golf. If you think you're good, all of a sudden you get the yips. All of a sudden you can't hit the ball. What happened? I used to be kind of good.
You shoot 78 one day, and the next day you're shooting 104.
Imagine, and it happens all the time.
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong? And you try to figure out, or it's just karma, or
just a day.
The planets aren't aligned, and you just. You didn't eat right that day or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's about all the time we have, Travis,
awesome.
And I appreciate it. We're going to do it again. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, it's a great time.
Yes. I
appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and I'd like to plan on doing the show for quite some time, so I like to get repeat guests, especially as they keep going with their endeavors on their competition. Because then you look back at this and say, remember what I said on that show? And now look at, 2 or 3 years later, and you're like, wow, this is where I stand, and it went like that. Yeah. It goes by fast.
It goes quick.
Yeah, it goes by quick. So once again, thank you. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Till next time, train hard and have some fun.
Awesome.